Okay.
So welcome everybody. I'm excited to be here with Felix today because the Laguna Beach Community Garden has been a hot topic in town
Oh, I bet.
because of the fraudulent seller.
Yeah.
And everybody's been asking me about it, and I'm like, I'm gonna wait until so Christina and Denise, so you guys know I've Felix has been my go-to title guy for years, and he saved a deal on Oak Street. You know how the lots are all wonky, that
Hmm.
every single picture looked like we were infringing on the back property. But when you walked it, the actual stakes were still there and
Hmm.
they were actually infringing on ours. But Felix had to bring, I don't even remember who he brought out.
We brought in a
He was very intimidating
yeah, it wasn't an appraiser, it was a I'm trying to remember what it was. It's been a while, but
because we contested the appraisal.
our underwriting team, had some questions about it, and so we brought out our own people to walk the premises to make sure that the lot lines were in fact where we thought they were. Because if you do go on Google Maps and some of these other systems, their lot lines aren't always completely accurate, and so we can't always go off aerial images. And so we brought somebody out that we have worked with, and they confirmed we were okay with what we had, and we were able to insure it and close on it within no hiccups. So
Yeah, no, it was great.
yeah, and it was a gorgeous property. So it was one of
Yeah,
those.
it was a 1.5 and then a 3.
Yeah,
So,
I was gonna say I wish I had bought it when it was 1.5. It's ridiculous.
right?
Now it's gone crazy. But yeah, it's funny that we're talking about the Laguna Beach community property because we were in fact the ones that were going to insure this fraudulent seller. And we'll get into some of the slides I wanted to show you guys. But we're just seeing a lot of fraud right now, a ton of it, and we just had the an office meeting this Monday at a big office because of it as well, because we've seen, I think, 5 or 6 fraudulent transactions come through in the last month, which is
That's
not normal.
insane.
Yeah, that's not normal. And all title companies are seeing it. And it's funny, most of the title companies are, when it comes to underwriting and all that stuff, we all talk to each other to tell each other what's going on and warn each other what's going on and what's coming down the pipeline. So everybody is now aware of what we're seeing and what type of scams they're really trying to get past everybody. And so some of the things I wanted to show you guys, and I'll send you guys a link, or not a link, but the PDF for this, so that you can just refer.
We'll
um,
post it on the Heyman page.
yeah, what you see, and if anything seems like a red flag, it might be. So I'm going to throw my screen up really quick for you
Okay,
guys. Let's see. Let me know if you guys can see it okay.
got it.
Okay, perfect. So the first thing we wanted to say is, if something it sounds too good to be true, it more than likely is. Especially in this market, we know that the market, and I'm speaking mostly for California because that's where my expertise is, but properties are going for highs right now. So if you get somebody that's reaching out to sell a piece of property, vacant or not, if they're selling it way below market value, that's a red flag. And what we're seeing is a lot of people, a lot of scammers are saying, "Hey, realtor, we want to sell this property. We don't live in the country, and we just want to sell it really quick. So we want to sell it under market value. Can you help us get this thing done? And we want to sell it as soon as possible." So those are red flags, because I don't know anybody that buys real estate to sell it low. Most people want to get as much money out of their property as possible, and then move on with their investment and do whatever they want. And we never want to tell people, we never want to accuse people of fraud, but we always say, like, "Oh, that's funny, that doesn't make sense." So just keep your fillers on when you are talking to these people. And what we're seeing is a lot of these scammers are coming from online leads. They'll
Oh,
say that,
interesting.
yeah. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to chime in for sure. This isn't like a presentation, but what we've heard, and this is how the Laguna Beach property scam came through. The agent received a call from the scammer saying, "Hey, we got your contact information online, and we'd love to work with you. We own a property in Laguna Beach on PCH. We need to get rid of it. We're out of the country," which the real sellers of this property do live in Saudi Arabia. We do know that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so they did their, public record is a funny thing. You can look at anybody's property and see where a return address is. So you can act like that person. And we're going to ask for specific, information, the SI and that kind of stuff, the statement of information, to kind of see who's who, and if we're speaking to the right people. And these people, the scammer was acting like the owners from Saudi Arabia. So we really didn't see any hiccups with that, at the time. And with that deal, we went all the way through to escrow. We got into escrow. Escrow was receiving fraudulent passport information.
Wow.
The SI information was okay. But the funny thing that what happened, and it was a stroke of luck for us. We insured the property when the original owners bought it 10 years ago. Our Orange County operation was the title company that insured it. So we still had their file records available to us to look. And that really helped us a lot, because
I have a question. If you hadn't have had that information, could this have closed?
No.
Okay.
And I'll show you why. But
okay.
the funny thing is, when we did look at the previous transaction, which we're never able to disclose to the agent, hey, we have a previous transaction with this information, because as an agent, you're not privy to that information because you were not a part of that transaction. So we can't really give you too much information when it comes to that. We could just say we have other records showing that we're not matching up. Things aren't matching up. So our SI from 10
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
So just to be clear, so you were involved in the previous sale, and then somehow you're involved in the next okay, because of what, the listing agent?
Our Orange County operation, which we, all of the counties are there. We're all the same company, but we're two different operations completely. Our Orange County operation was involved with that transaction. What had happened was, when we were looking at previous records on file, the chain of title, we noticed when the current owners bought it, we could see that Ticor Title was the insurer.
No, I get that you're, I just was wondering, so the agent's the common denominator, though, bringing the two together, though, correct?
No, the agents were different on both.
Different agents, okay.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
somehow Ticor Title just happened to be on both deals?
Yeah, the insurance side of things.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that seems like a coincidence. That's why I was
100%.
Yeah,
it was a stroke of luck.
And then my other question is, can you be a little bit more specific about what's not? Because to me, I feel like everything that title deals with is public knowledge. So can you be vague about, like, what information are you talking about that's not public knowledge?
A statement of information.
Okay.
Yeah, which, social security numbers, previous addresses, that kind of information. We can't share that with the agent, as far as, here's a copy of their old one, here's a copy of their new one.
Okay.
We can only say, like, we have
They're
records
different.
that don't match. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, we'll try to be as transparent as possible. When it comes to the title side of things, we don't get paid until the transaction closes, just like, a real estate agent and escrow. Everybody gets paid at the end, right? So we're always going to try to do whatever we can to close the deal. But if we start seeing red flags, we're more than likely gonna say, if you can't get us the information that we need, we're no longer going to be able to insure this transaction. So I always tell the agent, it's not, don't get mad at us that we're just like, no, we don't want to do this one. It's because the underwriting team is looking at things, and they're just starting to notice that things aren't adding up. And then when we got more in detailed with the seller, which was the scammer, the statement of information, birth dates, addresses, stuff like that was not adding up. The scammer was saying he was 35 when he bought the property, but our real owner was born in 1956. So that's a huge red flag right off the top. We're like, well, that that doesn't make sense. And then we started seeing other things. So we were like, okay, well, if you are who you say you are, can you get us this, this, and this? And we started noticing that the communication started breaking down from the real estate agent to the potential seller, which was the scammer. And again, we start seeing more and more red flags with communication and stuff like that.
And whenever somebody starts ghosting you in a real estate deal, we have an issue.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where, again, that's not normal. So as a real estate agent, we just want you guys to have your fillers on too. Like, why won't he answer my calls if he's trying to sell a $2 million deal? It just that doesn't make sense. And so just keep those fillers on. And kind of some of these items on here I wanted to put on a checklist. What we're seeing is a lot of the scammers are out of country. We have some documents that I'm going to show you, but they're usually out of the country. They say they have very limited access, via phone, and so let's do everything via text message or WhatsApp.
Man, that's the biggest red flag right there.
That's a big scam right now. I feel like a lot of people are telling me when I'm talking to agents that they're getting a lot of scam messages through WhatsApp right now. So just be aware of that as well.
Yeah.
And then I said the lower market value. I believe the Laguna Beach one as a reference, because I know we're all kind of familiar with that one. That's I think that property is valued at $5 million. They were trying to sell it for $2 million. So things like that, that's obviously a red flag to us and to you as an agent. Trying to sell the property in a rush, hey, let's get through this really quick. I'm not in the country again, like I kind of explained earlier. And then obviously only interacting via the phone as far as text messaging. This scammer was even doing Zoom calls with the agent, the listing agent. But then again, as far as a Zoom, that it doesn't really matter if you see the face or you don't. It's the information that isn't matching up, and that's where we start to the red flags really hit for us. So again, these are just a couple things that to just be aware of, and keep this as a reference point when you are talking to a potential listing, a potential seller. Let me go to my next page. Sorry, there we go. Okay, so these are the actual documents, and these are. You could see where I kind of clicked the arrows on what's fraud. You'll notice that these consulate stamps are from Vietnam. So we've looked into this, and we've even spoken to the U.S. consulate as far as what their stamps are and what those look like. And these are complete fraud stamps.
Wow.
So the funny thing is the note on the notary stamp, U.S. consulate employees are not notary publics. So that's the first right off the bat. So when we were talking about it earlier, like if we didn't have that SI to confirm that it was in our people, we found this as well. These were the other red flags. Like, hey, this isn't a legit stamp. This is not how the U.S. consulate does their document reviewing. And a U.S. consulate employee is not a notary public. What they do is they look at the document and then they sign off on the document, but they don't stamp it with a notary public like they do here. So it's just a big red flag. If you do see something like this, again, you'll have a copy of this, but you'll know that
we'll just call you.
It doesn't. This doesn't look right. And you'll also notice the name Lynn Gankowski. So we found out when we got more into digging, and we dig very deep when we get these fraudulent docs. Lynn Gankowski was a employee at the U.S. consulate, but she wasn't an employee at Ho Chi Minh City. She was, I forgot what city she actually worked in, but she did work in Vietnam at the US Embassy. But
Jeez.
the funny thing is they misspelled her name.
But they
So
went to the trouble to look
yeah,
it
they
up
went
and
through the
use a real
trouble.
employee.
Yeah, they
That's
went through the trouble.
insane.
So they're going pretty far to get the documentation that they need to get this to push through. And again, they'll probably do this on, you know, if they do this on 10 properties a month and one hits, they've done well. They're going to make a good amount of money and they move on. So we started looking into this, and we actually got a hold of Lynn at the U.S. consulate. And it's funny that we got a hold of her through social media. We reached out to her. We saw that she was an employee of the U.S. consulate. We reached out to her. We sent her emails. She actually responded about a week later, and we showed her the fraudulent documents. And she said, you know, I did work there at one point, but I didn't work in Ho Chi Minh City. And she said, that's not my signature. That is not a legit stamp. And we're now in communications with their security department, because that's now they've been hacked on their side of things. And so we're working with the US consulate as we speak to get this, get this resolved on their end as well. And then you'll notice this one was in Vietnam. The next one is in the United Kingdom. But the funny thing too, that if you notice, the writing looks the same.
Similar, yeah.
Very similar. So they're, again, they're trying to do this, whatever team they put together, they know where to get stuff from. They know what they're doing to a certain extent. And they're pretty well versed in it. So just, it's funny that the more that we're seeing it, everything's starting to look a lot alike.
Can I ask you, at what point is this document coming up in the transaction? Like,
this was at we were in the mid phase of escrow.
Okay, so because usually as agents we don't typically see these, mostly as escrow. So escrow is the one that's getting the heads up on this then.
Yeah, and usually what happens is, the listing agent gets the information. We then we find the buyer, and then we push it to escrow. Escrow starts doing what they need to do, and then escrow and title start talking to each other. And then once we started receiving this is when we start doing our review of the documents to make sure everything looks good for submitting to the county. And that's when we started seeing all these, like, hey, this doesn't look right, and started doing our due diligence to make sure, like, is this legit or not? And so with this being said, I wanted to show you a legit one. And on the right-hand side where the arrow is, this is a legit document from the U.S. consulate. And you can see there's no seal, there's nothing like that. There is it says Vice Consulate U.S. I can't read that. Consulate General, I believe it is, but it doesn't show any type of stamp with the eagle and the arrows and all this larger than, which it looks very good, to be honest with you.
No, they're trying to make it look even more legit.
Yeah, exactly. With a U.S. image of an eagle and all that good stuff, but the verbiage under it as well, I know you can't read it that well, but it just explains that they're acknowledging this document as valid, and then they have their signature stamp under below, but then they sign it as well. Definitely not like the one on the left. So
I have another question. So at what point is this action happening during the transaction? So is escrow asking for what, and what are they slipping in under the radar screen?
Yeah, their escrow is asking for the documents, and it's a grant deed. They send us the grant deed. We look at the grant deed and we say this doesn't look right. So we're in escrow. We caught this. Wait.
So the buyer's providing a fraudulent grant deed. Isn't everything on record, or is it what's happening?
This is the seller.
I mean, the seller, that's what I mean. So the seller's providing a fraudulent grant deed. Is that what's happening?
Yes. Yeah. The seller is saying that we're traveling right now. Here is our deed. We need to get this recorded so that we could then sell it off to the new buyers. And so that's where escrow was like, like, why are you sending us a new document from while you live in Saudi Arabia, but you're in Vietnam traveling for, they said, business, which is, people do that for sure. But it's, again, fishy that we're doing these transfers to then sell it again, if that makes sense.
So you as title then are getting it, and then you're referencing against your recorded documents, and you're going, something's not adding up.
Yeah. So every document that we get from escrow or from a seller for us to record within the transaction, we're always going to review it. Yeah, and escrow usually does as well. So escrow will review it. If it looks okay to escrow because they didn't know, they'll send it to us for final review, and then if we see anything, we then go back and say, so and so doesn't look right, or we're missing a notary stamp. If it was in the States, we'll look at that, and then we'll then tell them, all right, we're good to go. We'll then submit to the county recorder for recording.
Okay, I'm sorry. Could I ask a follow-up question? Sorry, Patti.
Go ahead.
Let's roll it back a little bit, because this is all well beyond us as agents. I want to know how we can protect ourselves. So what happened at the point of listing? So this fraud seller, right? Is calling the listing agent and saying, hey, I want you to list my house. So what's happening? Like, what are they? Because normally I'll pull a prelim, or a property profile, and I'm looking at their name and who owns the property. And then I don't ask for ID when I meet people, I just trust that they're who they are, and I have their phone number, and I meet them at their house or whatever. And maybe but like right now I've got somebody who's remote, but that's possible. But so what's going on at the point of the listing that the agent's missing?
So what I would do, and what I suggest as you guys as agents to do to kind of safeguard or even kind of catch stuff at the very beginning, is to, if they're signing the listing agreement, I would suggest having them fill out the SI right then when they're filling out all your guys' listing agreements.
That's a good idea.
So that when we order the prelim, we can also cross check it with the SI. And the reason being is, like you said, you're not checking people's IDs. So the SI is kind of like the next best thing, and we're going to need it anyway. So it's a why not do it up front and not wait until escrow asks for it when they're sending out escrow.
Yeah, I like that. Now, is this scenario with what happened at Laguna typical of the other 5 that you guys had come through your office?
Yeah, it is. It's they're all similar. The one that was different was they deeded the property. They fraudulently deeded the property into a trust. They were trying to fraudulently deed it into a trust and then have a trust sell the property from other people. That one was caught very early. And didn't get even into escrow whatsoever. But that's what they were trying to do, because anybody can record a deed, especially if it's in the States. And that was not an overseas type of deal.
And so it sounds like in almost every situation, that's what they're saying is happening. Like at some point there was some quick claim or whatever into some other entity, and this is the new deed with the new recording, and so this is who the real seller is. And by the way, here's my bank account number.
Yeah, exactly. and almost to the T. Yeah, you're spot on with that. And so, again, too, I hate that we always have to tell the agent, like, hey, keep an eye out for this. It's not like you do everything else too, and now you got to be read a document and make sure it's not fraud or not. But that's not necessarily the case. It's just more of the interaction you're having with the seller. So that if anything does trigger you to be like, let me get that and let me have my team review it. We can do that for you before we even get to to escrow too. So if something does trigger you when you're on the phone with a potential listing, or they say, hey, here's a new deed that I need to make sure that we get recorded before we sell it, just have us look at that beforehand.
There's our big red flag.
We don't waste any of your time, and we don't get into a situation that we're like, oh, now the deal's dead, and we put all that work and energy into. So
I have a
the
question.
New deed is, sorry.
Yeah.
So who approached the seller that you're a fraud? You're a scammer.
So again, we always tell, when we told the agent was really mad at us too, and it's a good agent of ours that we worked with for a long time. He was upset because it was a $2 million deal. And I get it, but at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we're securing our end of the bargain as far as being the title insurance company, but also the real owners of the property. So we told them
Protected, yeah.
Yeah, we're protecting, this is again, we're not doing this because we just decided, we don't want to insure this one. So we told the agent, this doesn't look good to us. This doesn't look right. There's too many red flags for us to feel comfortable insuring this property. So we're going to back out of this deal. We can never accuse people of fraud, like I said, but we're going to say, like, the agent once we started telling them and showing them a little bit of what the red flags were, they did say, oh wow, I didn't even realize this. And so the more we gave the more we could give them, and I know we couldn't give them everything, the more they were like, oh wow, like, thank you so much. Because and they're a broker, so they were like, you really,
And this was super high profile too.
super high profile, especially
for Laguna.
Yeah, for Laguna. And so this could have been a big deal to these guys if we did insure it, because at the end of the day, the real seller could have went after everybody, and the buyers that really didn't get the property could have sued everybody. And our policies are only good for a certain amount. And then, most people are going to go after everybody in this case. So I think what happened was, when we told them that we were going to back out, we gave them a little bit of information, what we could, and they were okay with. Then they went a little step further with the scammer to see what was going on. And that's when they did a Zoom with the scammer. And the more that the agent started picking at the scammer, kind of playing with them.
I love doing that.
I love it.
They could totally tell the guy was a fraud at that point. The scammer just hung up and
wow,
hasn't talked to him since. So, when it's all said and done, everybody was like, oh, thank God we just dodged a huge bullet. But when you're going through the transaction, there's frustration, and there's like, why can't you just do it? And I just always want to reassure, like, we're the insurance company, so we're gonna pick holes at everything to make sure everybody is who they say they are. And even then, if things don't sound right or don't look right, we may have to pull out of it, because that's in part of our best interest as well. So, and everything's a case by case. So like I said, if you guys ever see something that triggers you and you want us to look into it, we'll run the report, get us the SI, we'll run the names, we'll look at everything twice and say, everything looks good on our end. You should be fine. Just make sure they give us, X, Y, and Z, and we're able to move forward. So we'll do our due diligence on our side to help you guys out as much as we can. So, don't hesitate it's better to know, get more information and know than not, and then find out at the end of the transaction that it's a dead deal.
That would have been horrible if it had gone.
Yeah, it would have been really bad. So I'm so glad that we caught it, because now the broker that was the potential listing agent is really thankful for all the work we did. And we're actually we're in talks with Laguna Police Department and stuff to try to find these scammers as well. So we're doing
that's awesome.
Yeah, we're doing everything that we can to help and point them in the right direction, so that they can try to locate these people and put some bring somebody or some people to justice. So
wow.
Yeah. Do you guys have any just other questions as far as general information on what to look for or anything like that?
What is there, like a typical profile that you're seeing, like a price point or a property type or a location? That's a really good question. There is no price point. What we did see one in the mountains recently in Lake Arrowhead. We did see one where they were selling a vacant lot. And
I was just going to say, they're mostly vacant, right?
Vacant lot, yeah. Absentee, obviously, because they're absentee. So usually vacant lots are kind of out of sight, out of mind. So Lake Arrowhead, property was worth $150,000. The land was worth 150. They were selling it for, I believe, 20,000. So that's kind of the MO that we're seeing is, absentee properties, mostly vacant lot, and the property's worth a lot more than what they're selling it for. Because again, they're trying to sell these properties, quick, and just they're not trying to make all the money. They're just trying to take a good chunk and then they move on. So that's what we're noticing the most right now.
So it's mostly land.
Mostly land right now, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So and that makes a lot of sense because most people that own land, they're not always, I guess, it's not on top of their mind, when they are thinking of fraud and stuff like that. They're like, who wants a piece of land in Barstow? But it's happening. So
well, and it makes more sense that the seller might be remote, right? Because they're not living on the property.
Yeah, exactly.
So that part of it doesn't seem as strange.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes people are, I own a piece of land in Barstow. I just need to sell it because we're going to cash out. We're moving on. We need a quick sale. We're just going to sell it for $20,000. That doesn't seem crazy, but $150,000 to 20 is that's a huge gap. So it doesn't make sense as far as an everyday seller trying to unload a property.
Yeah, and Laguna doesn't actually have a lot of vacant lots to sell, so we're probably not the target market.
Yeah, I think they got
and
a little.
I was surprised they picked such a high profile place.
I was just gonna say that
that's why I was asking.
They went after
but
that
maybe
one.
they didn't realize it was so high profile and like deeply loved by the entire community, and it got all this attention.
Yes, agree. I don't think they knew that it was a city community gardening lot, and that's been there for a while. And one thing I did forget to tell you guys about that one is we even sent out documentation to the sellers of record that we had. We sent them notices to find out if they were in fact trying to sell their property or not. I don't think we've heard back from them yet.
How weird.
But yeah, but they do live in Saudi Arabia. They have a PO box in Saudi Arabia. So, but we did send that out certified mail to them to try to go a step further to try to connect with the true owners of the property.
So they might not even realize this happened.
100%. And that's what we're seeing. A lot of people aren't realizing, especially when if you live in Colorado but you have property in California and somebody's trying to sell it, you probably have no clue what's going on.
Well, it's reminding me of the Craigslist ads that we see for the rentals.
Yes.
Where it's too good. Pretty much anything that's too good to be true is too good to be true.
Exactly.
It's always a red flag.
That's happened to me before years and years ago. I'm like, man, that rent is really low. $1,000.
I need it right away. Give me your money now. I'm out of the country, but send me $5,000 as deposit to hold it, so you don't lose out.
2 years ago, I had somebody this close to signing, and I was talking to her every day. I'm like, it's a scam. Well, no, it's okay. It's a scam, and she walked away.
Yeah.
But the scammers only put their powers towards good, we'd have an entirely different world.
Yeah, 100%. Well, that's the thing, right? They're actually pretty good at what they do, but I wish it was for good and not for bad.
Well, we're almost out of time, you guys. Felix, this was really
I'll send this to you, Patti.
Okay.
I'll put it. I can send it to you directly, or I can put it on the group. But at least you guys have access to it so that you can refer back to it. But then
it'll be on the Haven page, everybody.
I'll throw it. Yeah, we'll throw it on there. And then if you guys ever have any just random questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to help any way that I can.
Oh, and Felix is going to be coming in a couple weeks or whenever we decide with desk calendars for next year for a Tuesday meeting at Project Social. I love mine.
We have big ones and then we have small ones now. So if you don't want a big notepad and you want a small notepad, then just let me know and I can make sure to bring those too.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Gosh, thank you. Thank you so much, Felix. And thank you, everybody.
You bet. You guys have a great day.
Have a great day.
Have a good day.
Bye.